So why don't I just start with asking you questions? You know, what's your main concern in terms of, you know, your loved one with Angelman's situation in relation to food and health and cognition? How I can help you?
I've been trying for years to get her on a more natural, non-processed food diet. Food is it's a happy place for her, so she's difficult to hold back some food. I'm interested in the LGIT. I learned at this conference, some of the things that I learned seems to be that maybe the last holdout to her continuing to have seizures is that we may can get rid of the medicine altogether if we can get her diet corrected. So.
Great, thank you.
I have a 32-year-old deletion positive, and just recently she's been diagnosed with inflammation in her body. So I'm well aware food could contribute that, but the rheumatologist says he's not quite sold that there's proof to prove this. So we've tried a lot of different things but I want to see if I can maybe go to all the natural way of weighing things out, because she couldn't even walk anymore, but she was able to walk before, and now having difficult with since November.
Thank you.
So I have a 10-year-old boy with UPD, and there's especially, it sounds like with UPD, food-seeking behavior, so I'm just generally concerned about maintaining his weight. And then I'm also curious about how diet might impact the relationship with behavior. He has a lot of challenging behavior, and we're just curious.
I have a 30-year-old son, deletion positive. 30-year-old son, deletion positive, named David. He's always been a real finicky eater, and just looking at other options for him.
Thank you. It's nice, we're filling up.
Hi, I have a 10-year-old daughter that's UPD, and her worst behavior is just the constant food seeking. It seems we've tried the low glycemic index diet, but she just seems to crave all the carbs and sugars, and I don't know, we need help.
Okay. So did you go back, or did you stay on LGIT so far?
At school, it's hard to get them to, not bring cupcakes for for birthday parties.
How old's your girl? She's 12. 12. Okay. Yeah. Just what genotype? Okay. Don't worry. It's okay. Don't worry. I'm an angel mom. Okay. Do you want to say anything? Just whether you have any specific concerns. Okay, take a seat. We're just starting.
My angel is 14 years old. She loves to eat, and we're big foodies, so we love to eat with her. And as far as any concern, she doesn't have any allergies that we know of, and she hasn't reacted in any adverse way to anything that she's been introduced to. But I guess more like a quality of life, especially now she's entering puberty, if there's anything that might be able to help, relieve any, since there's communication's an issue, if she's feeling uncomfortable, that type of thing.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have a 6.5-year-old UPD angel, and she's wearing size 12 already. But she's super tall, and she's like 80-something pounds. So I want to know, what can I do if I can maintain it or weight loss, if possible?
She and I have shared some information. Our children have a few similarities. I have a 7-year-old angel with a dormant UBE3A gene. She's, like I said, she's 7. She's in a size 10, and she weighs 86, let's just say 85 pounds. So if I can get her to lose a little weight and improve her cognition and health at the same time, I'm content.
Good, thank you.
I have a 16-month-old who is allergic to milk, so he's just starting solid foods. And we want to make sure we can get him above the failure to thrive, because that's, of course, where he is at this point in time.
We can fix that. Do you want to say anything, any specific thing you want to address? You good? Okay. Okay. Anything specific?
This is my son Sam. He's 8, deletion positive, and he was failure to thrive when he was little. He's always had low weight gain, low tone, and I would just like to learn how we can improve his cognition through natural medicine food.
Good, thank you.
I have a 16-month-old daughter with the deletion, and I really want to see if kind of starting the diet now, she's only on purees, but if there's any preventative qualities to it. She doesn't have seizures or anything yet.
No seizures yet?
No.
That's good. It's always great to prevent. Thank you.
Our daughter is 3 and she's UBE3A mutation positive. And she's just really a picky eater, and she doesn't like proteins like beef, chicken. She doesn't eat that, and I find it difficult with a lot of the diets that I hear about to make sure she's properly fed if she's not eating much protein. So,
thank you.
I have a 2.5-year-old who's mutation positive as well, and she is severely adverse. She's on a G-tube, and her whole world changed when we switched to a vegan diet, and it made a huge difference. But we're still trying to do solid. So,
great. Thanks for sharing.
Are we asking questions?
Yes, you can just say, what's your main concern? So while I do my session, I can go into your concern.
Perfect. My daughter is 19 months, and I started her on the LGIT, or low glycemic index treatment diet, and it has prevented her from having seizures. We're completely off Keppra. The problem that I've been having is really adhering to the percentages. I think it's been very hard for me personally to have such a high percentage of the diet in fat. So I wanted to see if you could maybe give me some pointers. I've tried to look on Pinterest and Google, and there's so many conflicting reports as to what foods fall into that particular diet. So I just wanted to see if you could help me with that.
Sure, happy to help. Anybody new that wants to say? Where did I stop? Here?
I'm interested in understanding how we can modify the LGIT diet when they don't like protein, the meats, and then also any supplements that can help with cognition and just other behavioral issues.
Thank you.
I have a 2.5-year-old granddaughter who is UPD, and I'm interested in things like the LGIT, to hopefully prevent seizures. She's been seizure-free so far, and I'm interested in the food options to improve cognition.
Wonderful, thank you.
I have a 4-year-old grandson. He's probably a little underweight. He really likes healthy food. He eats spinach and kale, pretty much everything except the yucky fried foods, or he's not a big protein eater. But I just really want to find out about this diet and try to get him on the right start before he develops other problems.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm generally here in order to support a friend of mine who is a mom of an angel. I have no angel of my own. So basically, I'd like to learn about the influence of food on the state of the child.
Hi, we have a 5-year-old boy, UPD. He doesn't have a problem with food. He loves food, but we're just trying to figure out what the best food is for him. He has seizure activity. It's not very well controlled right now with medication, and so we're looking at other options. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's start. The challenges in Angelman syndrome, I guess we touched them right now, yeah? These are your specific concerns, and other challenges that we have in Angelman syndrome are epilepsy, tremors, sleep, GI issues like digestion, absorption, reflux, constipation, tube feeding, formula feeding, limited food range, anxiety, ADHD, weight issues, cavities, osteopenia, and scoliosis. There's only one person with tube feeding here? One? Okay. All right. Who's dealing with epilepsy? Yeah. And do you have the seizures well controlled with medication? So most of you do, but some of you are looking for diet to get the extra control? Okay, perfect. And how many of you are on one seizure med? Okay. And 2? And 3? Or more? Okay, good. Okay, so the nice thing is that I can tell you that most of these issues, you have a good way to control with food, yeah? Not all of it, not 100%, but it gets you really a long way. Now, why can I say that? I've been in the community. My boy will be 6 in August, and I've been in the community since he was 1 year old. And in these 5 years, I've been able to observe a lot of things. And I've been able to observe that a lot of the kids that, make a change in diet because they had a lot of problems, they improve, yeah? So it's just an observation. So, we can say, well, my boy was lucky, but I see it in many people. So I can just say I'm a real advocate for food. I grew up in Austria on a natural foods-based diet. Then I moved to New York, then I moved to London. In London at the supermarket, I was used to get organic free-range pork. That was really nice. And then I moved to Guatemala, and suddenly there was none of that. I would say to my friends, where can I get some free-range pasture-fed chicken eggs? And they said, what's your problem? There's like 50 different brands at the supermarket, And I said, no, but there's a reason. So anyway, then, I had my daughter. She's neurotypical. She will be 8 now. And then 2 years later, we had Edito, who's going to be 6 now. And, with Edito, I was lucky because my pediatrician said from the beginning, he said, look, there will be no dairy and there will be no gluten till he turns 1. And guess what? Edito got diagnosed with Angelman syndrome at 11 months. So guess what? He's never had dairy, he's never had gluten, yeah? So these were the little advantages we had. So when we were diagnosed, I started researching. And I came across Dr. Thiebert and Heidi Pfeffer's paper on LGIT, and I said, okay, this is it. It was a small study. It was only 9 kids, but I said, okay, that's what I've got to do, So he was 1 year on modified LGIT, and then at the Angelman conference 4 years ago, he had his first seizure at age 2. And then we started formal LGIT with, nutritionist supervision. And so, he's been on LGIT since. I must admit that I took him off a few months ago and increased carbs to 200 grams a day, and he's still doing great. But that's not a free pass. It just means that, maybe if you're doing well, then maybe you can, you can do it, but it's no longer LGIT. LGIT is only considered a diet until 40 grams, up to 40 grams of carbs per day, which is very little, you know. In terms of, you know, the food basics, why is food so important, and what am I going to want to transmit to you today is, you know, unfortunately we have a lot of inflammatory foods in our diets, you know. The whole industrial food revolution, you know, has brought a lot of issues for all of us. It's brought obviously a lot of convenience, but it's brought a lot of issues. So, you know, we have gluten, wheat, rice, spelt, they're inflammatory foods. There's still not clear consensus, you know, what the cause is, you know, if it's because it's been modified so much to have more gluten, so it's more fluffy and everybody's happier, you know, or if it's because of pesticides that are being used, or, you know, fact is, I don't know anybody that does better with wheat in their diet, you know. I don't know anybody that does better with it, so my suggestion is to remove it, you know. Then we have another inflammatory food, which is dairy, you know. Then we have sugar. Then we have genetically modified foods. With genetically modified foods, there is a lot of discussion, you know. There's the one side that says, it's not true, it's not inflammatory. You know, there are animal studies that show increased inflammation. There is no animal, there's no human studies. I avoid them like the plague for my boy, you know. Since I've come here, I've probably eaten, you know, lots of GMOs because in salad dressings and whatever, but for Edito, I've stayed away from it. Then we have artificial color and flavors, you know, which, especially with, if you want to have better focus with your kids, better concentration, less hyperactivity, less attention deficit, I recommend you remove artificial flavors and colors. And then you have the famous MSG, which makes food taste good. We all love, you know, to eat a good bag of Doritos or whatever, you know, and we just empty the bag and we didn't even realize, you know, it was so good. Well, that's MSG, you know. It's an excitotoxin. It excites the cells in your brain, going from the tongue up to the brain to the point where they actually die. Yeah, of course it's not a problem because we have lots of brain cells, so you know, a few that go away with you when you eat processed foods with MSG is not a problem, but our kids already have so many issues that, you know, it's like the little drop that makes the glass overflow. So you want to avoid it. And then, well, we all know that, you know, everybody that has Angelman syndrome has inflammation, right? I mean, we all know that. You cannot have seizures without inflammation. It just doesn't happen, right? And, you know, due to the missing or malfunctioning UBE3A gene, well, you can have extra material there in the cell, so you have inflammation. I mean, it's not difficult to understand that. So reducing inflammation helps the whole organism, right? And we can do that with diet and supplements to fight the inflammation. So, you know, it's all good and fair. I'm an angel mom, so, you know, why am I saying all this? You know, that it's important to have an anti-inflammatory diet. Oh, by the way, I have the link for you from the presentation. So if you want to, I can send you the link. And then, do you want to have the link right now? Yeah? Okay. Let's go to the last slide so you can log in. And so there are a lot of MDs in the US that focus on anti-inflammatory nutrition, you know, for all types of chronic issues, for arthritis, for multiple sclerosis, for diabetes, for all kinds of chronic health issues. And there's more MDs every day. So I really recommend to you, everybody has copied the link? Okay. Can you finish for a second? So we have more and more MDs every day, and you can follow them on the internet. You know, what I'm here to do today is empower you as parents, that you are in control, you can do it, you can do a change for the better, and you don't have to be scared, and it's manageable. I mean, I came here with my boy alone on this trip. We came from Guatemala, and you know, I was worried about the food, but I've managed so far. My friend Anna, who's helping me, she helped me go to the supermarket. The first morning, we went to Fry's around the corner. We picked up, you know, lots of organic veggies and fruits. And, you know, I brought some homemade things, some little buns and some crepes. And at the restaurant, they have been wonderful. They've been very collaborative to steam vegetables for us every day, you know. So here I am doing it, you know. We're on a trip, and he doesn't have any processed foods. Can I go back to the slides? Okay. So what I want to do today, just to, you know, so you have all these different MDs, yeah, which you can at home log in to the different pages and just see that it's all the whole same idea. I mean, they preach what I preach, and you know, they're MDs, and they have done their research properly. They often have a lot of issues themselves. So let me present Edito. So Edito is almost 6, you know. He has his talker, he's learning, you know, he's walking. He's deletion positive. He's no miracle, but he's doing well, you know. He's almost 6. He started his seizures at age 2. I decided not to go on a seizure medication at the time. We did 3.5 years of LGIT. We were happy with LGIT. We had seizures only when he was ill, and you know, with high fever. But apart from that, he didn't have seizures, yeah? So we were fine, but then 6 months ago, for different reasons, I decided to try Onfi. Because, you know, we always want more, we always want better, right? We always want more cognition. So I fell into that too. And I said, okay, I'm gonna try Onfi, but I'm gonna try Onfi 5 milligrams a day, which is, according to Dr. Thiebert, not a therapeutic dose. But, you know, we didn't have any seizures for 7 months. So I'm happy with that, right? And, you know, Edito goes to regular school. He goes to Waldorf school, and he's a healthy kid. He takes Charlotte's Web as well. We take Charlotte's Web mainly for his immune system. It didn't help us with seizures. I really like Charlotte's Web because I find it really supports his immune system. I mean, at school they've called me various times telling me that other kids were at the doctors and everything, and I was always panicking, you know, because illness before for us used to mean seizures. But yes, he would get a little cough, little cold, but he wouldn't run into seizure trouble, and he wouldn't have to go take medication, you know. So in the last 5 years, we've only gone to the pediatrician to get him measured and weighed. Yeah, no medications, none of that. Okay. So what I want to do today is present a few kids to you and show you, you know, they're all on a different diet. They're not on the same diet, but what we all have in common is we're all on natural foods-based diet. There's no processed foods in any of the kids that you're going to see now. And I believe that that is what is key, you know. So Kyle, he's 20 years old now. He's deletion positive. Apart from Angelman, he has some other issues as well, like mitochondrial disease. And so first, they put him on the ketogenic diet, but he had lots of problems on the ketogenic diet. So what is important to remember here is that, try different things and observe and see what works for you, because what works for someone else might not work for you. I heard some of you say, oh, my child doesn't like any protein, my child doesn't like any meat. Listen to your child. I mean, probably our children have better developed instinct than we do. Yeah. So, if you would have asked me a few years ago, I would have said, oh, hide it. But now I no longer say hide it, Listen to your kid, observe. Obviously, if your kid only wants to eat Dunkin' Donuts, don't listen to your kid, yeah? But what I'm trying to say is, if it's natural foods and it's healthy foods, considered healthy foods, but your child is rejecting it, maybe there is an underlying reason. Because Kyle had detected this mitochondrial disease, and he had fat and lipid metabolism issues. So they were told to change the diet and feed him every 3 hours and do a mitochondrial cocktail of supplements. And they did, and we're talking about a boy that had lots of anxiety and wasn't mobile and had lots of tremors. And now he's doing like this. Let me find him for you. You can't hear me well? Yes? You prefer this microphone? I can try. Okay. Yes? Okay. Okay. Shannon. No, it's Tom. What is it? Sorry. Here, saved.
I think it's Tom and Shannon.
Exactly. There we go. So here we have Kyle, and his dad is cutting his hair, and that wasn't possible before,
Yeah, typically it takes 5 or 6 people to cut the hair.
So, and now he's really relaxed, but they switched over in the end. Now they're at an autoimmune paleo protocol. Autoimmune means, that it helps autoimmune issues, and what foods are allowed are basically, in autoimmune protocol, you're allowed fruits, veggies, you're allowed fats, healthy fats, obviously, and you're allowed animal foods. Animal meats. You're not allowed eggs, you're not allowed dairy, you're not allowed grains, you're not allowed legumes, okay? So it leaves a few food groups, but, for people with autoimmune diseases and for Cal, it was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. And, Shannon wanted me to share this with you because, and also, I'm gonna share Shannon here because Shannon was struggling. Let me see if I can get that portrait for you. So this was Shannon before, and this is Shannon now. Yeah. She has multiple sclerosis, and she's feeling much better now. She's not in perfect condition, but for multiple sclerosis, you've probably all heard it's a very hard condition, and it's it takes a toll on your body and on your mind. Okay, so and then Kyle also used to take 4 more pharmaceutical drugs that he's off now. He reduced his seizures by 75%. He's off Felbutol, Topamax, Trazodone, and Thiazidine. His only pharmaceutical med now is Onfi, Lamictal, and Levocarnitor, and supplements. Shannon says, it's been an amazing journey and we continue to learn by listening to Kyle and do lots of research. And she realized the foods that he couldn't take by that, he would gag or he would vomit or he'd get a rash. So these are all things that you as parents can observe, and see what works and what doesn't work, So I always suggest changing one thing at a time, and while I'm suggesting this, I don't always follow my own suggestions. But it's good to only change one factor at a time, because then you have a good way to observe what works and what doesn't. Any questions to Kyle?
Would you mind discussing the Charlotte's Web oil you mentioned earlier? Could that be used also to assist with sleep disorder also?
Sure. Happy to talk about Charlotte's. I'm not a Charlotte's Web expert. I'm just a user. The thing is, from what I've observed, it works really well for some families, and it doesn't work so well for some other families. Yeah. So it's really a trial and error thing. If you go, there is a Facebook page that is called Angels on Cannabis, and that is specifically for Angelman, and there you have lots of families talking about Charlotte's Web. So that's your easiest bet to find out, details about it. In Edito's case, I really like Charlotte's Web. I'm going to continue to use it, but for him, it actually worsened his seizures. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to other families, yeah, because there's some where it's worked awesome for seizures. Maybe it depends on the individual, For Edito, for example, it increased GABA, but because he didn't have any seizure med protecting him from sudden GABA increase, so he only had LGIT, So that, I saw seizures every week, but I didn't want to get off the Charlotte's Web. So then I decided to add a mini thing, 5 milligram once a day of Onfi, and we never saw another seizure, So, but I'm quite adventurous with things like this. Probably most people aren't. But for sleep, I'm sure it's great. I mean, Edito, he sleeps through the night every night, yeah? I put him to bed at 7 p.m., I get him at 7 a.m., that's it, And Anna here, who's sharing room with me, she's my testimony. She can testify that is true, right? No sleep meds. But that's what, that's why I'm saying, Edito is doing great health-wise, he's doing great behavior-wise, he's doing great, I take him to church every week, he sits still with me for an hour and listens. At school there isn't a problem. I mean, yes, they would like him to, balance on a tree trunk like all the other kids, but I can't help them with that right now. But he's like keeping up, and yes, he doesn't put away his toys, which I would like him to, but there is still details we're working on, but overall I'm really happy with his health and his situation and his sleep, and it wasn't always like that. I mean, Edito, when he was 6 months old, he had horrible reflux, and I was thinking, what's going on? Why was he having reflux? But I was able to fix it. I was able to fix it when he was 2.5 years old. I did a gut healing program for 6 months on autoimmune protocol, and that's it. His reflux never came back. And the sleep. I mean, when he was a baby, he would wake up every 2 hours, but that's normal for babies, right? But afterwards, at age 6 months, I decided to, send him to his bed. And once I stopped feeding him at night, and he knew, okay, mom's not coming. So then he just decided to sleep through the night every night. And the only time Edito doesn't sleep through the night is when he has seizures or is ill. And when he's ill, he usually had seizures. So, so seizures is the main reason, in my opinion, for not sleeping.
The other thing I wanted to know is the Charlotte's
Yes, Charlotte's Web is available over the counter, and there's 2 websites that if you ask in that group, then they'll point you to the link, and you register first in one site, and then you log in on another site, and then you get a good discount, and you order it monthly. It's, you know, exactly. Kelly has been a user of Charlotte's Web, and like some other families, you know, they've gone on and off, and right? And some say, oh, we see no difference going off, but first time you saw good effects, right?
The first time we used hemp, CW hemp, was about a year ago, and within one day he was walking again. He was in status for 8 months, so. It was kind of a big deal. But so the first day, now we had already gone on to an anti-inflammatory diet. He had already regained control, no more tremors, no more seizures, that kind of thing. The first day on CW hemp, he said, "I love you," and he started walking. And then it just kind of died down. He didn't stop walking, but the speech diminished. So there was something to it. I don't know what, but it doesn't happen anymore. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so, you know, I've decided to keep it because I'm convinced it's good because cannabis has a lot of benefits.
I guess my question is, we only just became able to use cannabis oil for certain diagnosis in the state of Georgia recently. And I know I didn't realize that it was legal except in the states that have done that particular legislation.
Yeah. The thing is, with Charlotte's Web, it's got a nice little detail to it. I don't want to talk too much about Charlotte's Web because I have lots of other food things to go through, but just to tell you quickly, Charlotte's Web has very low THC, and the law in the United States says that if it's below so and so much THC, then it's legal. It's not considered cannabis, it's considered hemp. So as a hemp product, it's available in the whole United States. I mean, you know, I get it shipped to my PO box, they then ship it to Guatemala. I mean, it's a supplement. Yeah, it's not like medicinal cannabis. Of cannabis? Yeah, I really suggest you all register to the Facebook page Angels on Cannabis, and then you ask all your questions because there's lots of great parents that can answer, and you know that can tell you, oh, in that state this is much better, and you know you should give that dose, etc. But Charlotte's Web has their own dosage calculator. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're welcome. So next I want to present to you Keanu. He's Kelly's son, and Keanu, like Kelly said, was in status for 8 months. You know, he could no longer walk. He couldn't walk for 2 years. And, you know, Kelly is a great researcher mom, and you can all be great researcher parents, you know. You can all advocate for your kids and do this, you know. You don't have to have any superpowers like me or Kelly, you know, or Kelly or me, sorry. So, you know, always investigate, think about it, analyze things, turn things around, you know. You can figure a lot of things out. So let me get you a quick video of Keanu. Okay. So that was a year and a half ago? Okay, 2 years ago. So Keanu was really struggling, and that's prior to diet change. Keanu just was on a regular standard American diet. But things were hard for him, right? Oh, here we go. Okay. So basically, Kelly realized how much power she had over her son's well-being with food, Yeah. So here we have a picture that was a video that was taken recently where, Keanu is following commands well or requests. And Kelly asked him to pick up something and he's gonna come and pick it up and bend nicely to the floor and all things that with Angelman deletion aren't that easy, Okay. So basically, and Kelly did a lot of testing, a lot of trial. First, Keanu suffered from severe reflux as a baby. Medications didn't work. Removing milk resolved the reflux immediately. Yeah. In my case, Edito never had dairy, but he still had reflux, and I resolved the reflux with a gut healing program. So there's different reasons for reflux, but it can be fixed. And one big issue with the reflux medication, and of course I'm not telling you to come off them, but I'm just saying one big issue is because they dilute stomach acid or they suppress stomach acid production, and you need the stomach acid to digest the food properly. So then, you reduce the absorption rate, you reduce the digestion, then food gets to the next stage not well digested. That increases risk for developing allergies and other GI issues. So, it's all a chain of issues. So once you go, once you leave things like this unresolved and just, it's good to address the base of the issue. So anyway, Keanu developed seizures as a baby, was put on many different seizure meds. Keanu never had good control of seizures. He developed severe tremors a few years ago and also lost the ability to walk after changing his diet to Keanu Effect. That's Kelly's protocol. He was able to wean off almost all seizure meds, and he's only got one more to go. And he started walking again. He no longer has any tremors and has control of seizures. Cognition and sleep have also dramatically improved. Keanu's carnitine and other abnormal labs became normal. Keanu is now in the best health of his life. And here, like you saw, Edito, he's on what's Edito on? He's on, right now, he, for the past month, he's on a vegan protocol because I'm testing something different. I'm going to show you what, for example, what he ate today, right? But then we had Kyle, who is on an autoimmune protocol. And then we have Keanu, who's in the Keanu Effect. The Keanu Effect protocol is basically all fruits, all vegetables, and then you have animal meats. And you still have egg in the protocol or no more?
We just have it like an umbrella. So like if you want to do LGIT or if you want to do keto or if you want to do vegan, whatever you want to do, you can do it within the food list that's available. What you want to do is you want to avoid the no list.
Yeah, otherwise they can't hear you in the recording.
So we keep it like an umbrella of you can fit any diet in it. So LGIT, keto, vegan, whatever you choose to do, whatever you feel is right for your child. We have a list and it says what you can eat, what you can't eat, what you need to limit. And depending on what you choose to do, what you want to always do is avoid the avoid foods, the no list. And those are your anti-inflammatory it's an anti-inflammatory list is what it is.
Yeah, so basically, let's say on Keanu protocol, they don't do any grains, which you also don't do on autoimmune protocol, and on LGIT, really, you can't have grains anyway, because by definition in LGIT, what you want to do is you want to have 70% fats. You want to have or 60% fats. But if you decide to go 60% fat, you have to do 30% protein. And 30% protein, I mean, it's like really hard to get there. I can tell you from experience. So 70% fat, 20% protein, and 10% carb, yeah? That's LGIT. So really, and you cannot do any foods on LGIT that are over 50 of glycemic index. So all the grains are out, you can't do grains. You could do like 2 tablespoons of quinoa per day, but quinoa, there's a lot of discussion whether it's grains anywhere or whether it's, a seed. But I'll tell you more about that in a second. So then we have Krista, who's yet on another diet, but also again, all natural foods, no processed foods. Krista is dairy-free, is gluten-free. And she started out with gluten and dairy-free at age 2.5 and immediately started to sleep 7 or more hours a night, after having only been able to sleep 30 minutes at a time for her entire life. Her bleeding eczema, bleeding diaper rash, and other bumps and rashes on her face, mouth, and body cleared very quickly. Krista was about 90% potty trained as well within a short time. Krista is UPD, by the way. We had a major setback after, she was given some common medication by her pediatrician. From that point on, at age 3, she had to implement a low glycemic index diet, which eliminated her seizures that she began to have after her setback and allowed her to regain some verbal speech as well. Now she's 14. Krista is the healthiest child I know. That's what the mom says. She has no need of medication, no seizures, and I'm quite proud of all the independence that she displays in her daily living skills. I'm certain that our lives would have been much different if not for the management of her diet. Krista's diet is beyond worth the effort that it takes to implement. So Krista, apart from Angelman syndrome, she also has what they call PANDAS. Okay. So, her PANDAS symptoms also improved a lot with the change of diet and with some natural supplements, but I don't know which ones. So then I want to present Maggie, Erin Sheldon's daughter. Erin recently wrote a post about Maggie, and I just said, oh, please, can I have her in my presentation? Because I felt that's really, it's really amazing. So basically, Maggie has a long history of arrested bone growth and low bone density. And simply treating it as a medical issue did not effectively treat it. Her blenderized diet with a base of bone broth has been accompanied by things like going from a size 4 in women's shoes 18 months ago to a size 7. She has gone from osteopenia bordering on osteoporosis to normal bone density for age. We are working hard to strengthen her bones while she's in puberty. So Maggie's tube-fed, G-tube fed. She was for a long time, she was on a ketogenic diet. They cycle on and off for 2 years, on and then off, to get good seizure control. But because she was getting this, formula, the mom's saying that, she's done much better without the formula. That's what I basically want to say. So 18 months ago, she had severe salmonella poisoning, and the GI tract was totally wiped out. And someone suggested a GAPS diet. At the time, Mag could only tolerate bone broth, egg yolks, sweet potato, rice, and avocado. I started making big batches of bone broth and giving it to her by G-tube. At the time, it was the only thing she could handle. Anytime her system gets wonky, we revert straight to bone broth until she's stable again. Her shoe size hadn't changed in almost 3 years, and she had gone from the 50th percentile in height to the 3rd percentile. So she had lost a lot of weight. She's still pretty petite, but the first thing I noticed was that her feet were growing. She was so happy because she is shoe obsessed, but couldn't fit into women's shoes. She's now 5 foot and in a woman's size 7. So still petite and at least staying at the 10th percentile of height. I'm convinced it's the bone broth, says the mom. Yeah. Also, 18 months ago, she had stopped walking so much, and she was much more easily fatigued and had discomfort from walking. We were using her stroller a lot. She had once gone on long hikes. They discovered she had a rotated hip, and I was just told to expect her mobility was likely to keep dropping with puberty. She's now back to hiking for about 2 to 3 hours at a time. She still has a rotated hip, but she has not complained of pain in her hip for over a year. She has a reputation at school for being very active. Her teacher brought an elliptical machine into the classroom so she could stay moving. That's how much her stamina has changed. I really think she had a lot of inflammation from the commercial formula, and just getting her on bone broth and a blenderized diet has eliminated pain. Okay, so natural foods, power, you can do it. And of course, if you go to a GI specialist, he will tell you, no, don't do your own blenderized diet at home, because they're scared. They're scared. That's not what they learn at university, And it's normal, because if you do the formula, it will have exactly all the micronutrients that you need, and you will always know that it has all this. Yeah? But you can do it. You can change and be in charge and do it successfully yourselves. I'm going to give you some tools. There is a great tool which is called Chronometer, chronometer.com, or you can download it as app. Yeah, it's not much at all. And it's really awesome because it gives, it empowers you as parents or caretakers to be able to calculate all the details. So you say, okay, so I want to use all these foods today. And then you'll see, okay, are you covering 100% of your nutritional needs, or are you lacking vitamin B vitamins, And then you can decide what you're going to do, if you're going to add foods that cover that as well, or if you're going to add a B complex, Erin says, and it's super easy to maintain. I buy 2 packs of organic chicken at Costco and roast them. I take the bones and add any organic bone I can get my hands on. I simmer them on low boil for about 24 hours until the bones are crumbly. Then I freeze the stock until needed. For her blenderized food, I line up a bunch of extra large canning jars, portion out the sweet potatoes, kale, egg yolk, meat, and blueberries and everything, pour bone broth over and freeze. This is how I'm able to travel, because my husband can just blenderize the thawed jars as needed. So it's doable. It's really doable. And Maggie is doing so much better, so it's really worth it. Brinda, another one of our wonderful angels. She's also deletion positive, and she does really, really, really well on a vegan diet. She's always been vegan, and she's only on a very low dose Keppra. She's like really grown out of her dose, but it's still there. They still use it. She's got 0 tremors. She's only using organic foods. Like, her mom really takes care that all her veggies and all her fruits are organic. And she's never had candy or soda in her whole life. Brinda eats lots of veggies, fruits, and has never eaten meat or eggs in her entire life. She drinks kefir every day, but doesn't drink any cow milk. Lots of coconut oil and spices are mainly turmeric, ginger, and paprika. Okay, so I'm going to show you a quick video of Brinda. So this is Brinda. She uses her talker really nicely. You can see she has a nice finger point and no tremors at all. No processed foods, no candy, no sodas, ever. So you can see, even while we're all doing different things, we're all committed to, sticking to nature, not doing any processed foods, not doing sugar, not doing gluten, not doing the remains or the throwouts of a candy factory, And they said, oh, the beef is still growing, it's still giving milk, and so what's the problem? So, we have these kind of issues, because then what type of quality product of animal are you going to have, And you're going to eat it, so you're not going to have a nutrient-dense food. Then rich in omega-3s like anchovies and sardines, oils, avocado oil, coconut oil, olive oil. Sweeteners, we have stevia. If you're going to use white powder, it should only be sweet leaf. Then you could use not LGIT, honey, or turbinado and evaporated cane juice, or coconut sugar, not LGIT. And then for drinks, we've got water with cucumber, water with blackberries, water with stevia, tea, green tea, herbal tea, chamomile tea, cold, hot, or any way you like. And then flours, we've got almond flour, coconut, flax meal, or linseed. Seeds, all the different types of nuts, except for peanuts, because they're not nut family, they're legumes. And then fermented foods. With fermented foods, again, some people do great on fermented foods, and others cannot tolerate fermented foods. Fermented foods are kimchi, sauerkraut, and pickles. But please, if you do buy pickles, buy real pickles, you have to start reading the ingredients list, because most pickles they're not actually pickled. They're placed in vinegar, and then they add some color, so we will get the color, that they want. But it's not like a pickle. Traditionally, you had to put it in water with salt, and you had to wait a week, and then the pickle would ferment, and that's a real pickle. But with food industry, they don't have time for that.
The recommended food list, is that also for ketogenic diets?
Yes, on ketogenic diets, you can have all of the foods on the recommended food list, and without the ones where I wrote not LGIT, which is basically in the sweetener section, the 3 sweeteners. With ketogenic diet, obviously you have to reduce your intake of proteins, because you have to have like at least 80% fats to get to ketogenic protocol. But ketogenic protocol, if it's going to be for epilepsy, it's very strict, and they will put you in hospital for 3 or 4 days to settle you in. They monitor your ketones. They see what ratios you need to be able to be in ketosis and have seizures control with the lowest level of ketones possible. So meal ideas. Obviously, we all want to have nice foods, right? And so, here I give you some ideas. You can do pizza. You can do pizza that is grain-free. You can use either a cauliflower base, or you could use a cassava flour base. If you use a cassava flour base, it's not LGIT. If you use a cauliflower base, it is LGIT. Remember that there are people that do LGIT with dairy. I prefer no dairy. Then, baked apples. I don't know, it's big in Austria. I don't know if you like baked apples, but when it's cold out, it's kind of nice. So if you have a slow cooker, you can put them in the slow cooker, and you can stuff them with nuts and seeds, and maybe some pure cocoa powder, the bitter cocoa. So you could do that. And, zucchini noodles, you've all seen those, right? They're down there, I put a picture. So in the zucchini noodles, you can, of course, put all types of sauces on them, like ground beef or whatever you used to. Then cookies, there's lots of cookie recipes. If you go to thepaleomom.com, which she was one of the ones that I put her URL in the presentation. So she can, she gives you lots of recipes. If you go into the autoimmune section, or even in the regular paleo section, you'll get lots of recipes that are cookies, but obviously she doesn't focus on LGIT because she doesn't specialize on epilepsy, But basically, There are cake recipes as well, and bread buns and crepes. But I am just seeing I've run out of time. But at my session from 7 to 8:30, I'll be talking more about recipes. Here is one of the links. And you can reach me at Instagram or Facebook. And if you use WhatsApp, you can reach me on WhatsApp. And in YouTube, I have playlist on diet and epilepsy. And this was the access to the presentation, but you all wrote that down already. And here, I promised my daughter, she said, "Mommy, you always just put pictures of Edito." So I said, "Don't worry, I'll take you to my presentation. I'll take you with me." But basically about, everybody that told me before, your specific issues, if you want to, I'm more than happy to talk about them specifically at the session from 7 to 8:30. But, just wrapping up here, we were looking at inflammation issues. I think we covered them, how to reduce inflammation. We were looking at LGIT. We did speak about LGIT. We were looking at, overweight and underweight. I tell you, Edito, he went from a 10th percentile of weight to a 50th percentile of weight within a year, once I changed his diet. You were inquiring about allergies. This type of eating, will help reduce allergies, but it's always good to identify specifically what allergies you have and then eliminate them and then reintroduce them at a later date and do a gut healing program. We were talking about picky eaters. My experience with picky eating is that if you introduce probiotics, that then the microbiome will change, it will rebalance, and then the brain will be more open to try new foods. So my first step when I work with kids with autism back in Guatemala is I tell them, okay, first you have to start with probiotics. The probiotics and, getting on probiotics will help us open the mind up to be able to get off gluten and dairy and other things. We spoke about G-tube with the experience of Maggie, right? And what else did we have? We spoke about seizures. Were there any other questions, or do you want to come to my session at 7? I know. You can't be, for me, this was a key thing for survival. I mean, emotionally, I would not be where I am today without Facebook in terms of Angelman syndrome. Because, just sharing, knowing that others are struggling similar things, but also getting tips and ideas of, I want to try that, or,
Are there any Facebook groups for this specific diet to give us recipe ideas? Because that's something, like I said earlier, that I've been having trouble with. Do you guys know anything?
Yes, you have for Keanu Protocol, you've got Keanu Effect is a group. Then you have by Sybil Kraft Bellamy, you have Angelman Syndrome Diet. She focuses on LGIT and ketogenic diet. And, for me, you can always make friends with me on Facebook. And I've got Angelman Syndrome and Alternative Health Approach group. My Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram, but it's I'm Back to Basics, which is I'm Back to Basics. Yeah, sure. But you really, you need that support. I mean, really, if you have that, I mean, I've learned so much. And I always do my own research, but I benefit a lot from observing also how something didn't work for someone else. You also learn from that, Any other questions? Okay, so basically, just to wrap up, what I wanted to do is give you the idea, okay, so there is LGIT, there is ketogenic diet, but there is also vegan diet, and there is, there's autoimmune protocol. You saw lots of kids that do great, and what they have in common is 0 processed foods, no crap foods. I mean, only good foods, And I think that is really what makes a difference. Okay, thank you.